What up, campers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low-baggers? Happy January 23rd to all of you. Thank you for watching Sportsbook Review. This is Betting with the Bag. We have a small three-game slate in NBA. Teddy Covers going to be joining us in 18 minutes from now to break that down. We have NCAA, huge NCAA card. So we're going to hear from Teddy Covers. We're going to hear from Ian Cameron, a.k.a. Babano. Then we're going to hear from Maxwell Smart, breaking down those NCAA basketball spots. And we are going to start the show off with a little UFC action in 3 minutes. Anna Merrick will be joining us to talk about the UFC card coming up. So UFC, NBA, NCAA basketball, and no NHL because we are on the All-Star break. But man, did we smash that first period. Winnipeg Jets with well, it wasn't with these 2-1. We opened up 1-0. They tied it up. We got the 2-1 winner. That's the second straight first period bet that I've made on a big dog that cashed when the full game lost. Feels good. It was a huge day for us yesterday here. I'm betting with the bag. 7-1 plus 6.43 units. 1-0 in NHL plus 1.56 units. Swept the board in NBA. 4-0 plus 4.00 units. NCAA 2-1 plus 0.87 units. Max also had a winning day. 14-11 plus 1.91 units. And his play of the day cashed. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. Jason Fritz, Mark Unkefer says, Let's. I think everybody had a pretty good day yesterday. I think so too. Jason Fritz said, yes, sir. 5 out of 6 lines hit on our end. There is Nasty Nate in the house. George Cruz ready to get to work. Oops, squad cap. Oops, squad cap says, anyone else think a beat-up, tired squad goes into Cleveland and still gets the dub? It's a tough spot, and I just lost on the. I was dumb enough to take the Cavs at home against the Knicks, and that lost by 20 points, so I'm hesitant to make a move here. There's Dave Berkey. Nice cash last night. Dave Burke parlay cash. He had the Wild in regulation. Wild in regulation, as well as the Columbus Blue Jackets on the money line. Great job, Dave Burke. Dave Berkey in the house. NHL parlay bagger Brandon Kessler in the house says Wiz scored 129 Miami last night. Miami usually play awesome at home. Wiz got to be tired. We're going to talk about that game a lot. Neil P in the house. Barry Mccollum ready to get to work. Brad Hansen ready to get to work. Paul Costa in the house. Hit the under Celtics -7 live at the TD Garden. Thanks to you guys. Great job, Paul Costa. I absolutely love that. That's thanks to you, though, Paul Costa. Great work. Isn't it fun when you get to go to a game live and cash, pay for the game and more? I love that shit. Love that shit. Dave Burke saying Williamson was fun to watch last night. He sure was. 17 straight buckets. Impressive. There's a sweaty butcher in the house. Dave in Cal 48. There's my guy, AM. What a great group. Let's get ready to get to business. Tomarino went 3-1 All-NBA plays. Dotson 3 at the end of the first quarter. Cost me the sweep. It sucks, but great job. Tomor, top set, Cobra Sports. It was a nice bounce back day I needed in NBA. Needed it. Nilo said great day yesterday. Absolutely. Gerald Jones, Ty Clinton, Alex Ramirez, Rocky Manichetti. There's my guy, Rocky Manichetti. Man, nice to see you back in action, Rocky. Rocky hung out with us at the IFBC in Vegas. What a great guy, Rocky Manichetti. Philippe Fernandez, Dominic Lara, Zombie Pie said, should have bought the bet that first period. Yeah. I wish it was an all-star break. I feel like I'm just about to get hot for the first time all season. But whatever, we're ending in plus units, which is where we want to be. There's Carlos Peroge in the house. Red Girl, ready to get to go. Divisiao, ready to go. Hello, baggers. Let's get some money. Absolutely, Divisiao. Thank you for joining us. All right, so a couple things, a couple notes. First off, there's Prince of the City and LU. Yeah, felt good. 7-1. God, I needed that badly. And I hate that it's all-star break hockey because I just feel like I'm seeing things clearly right now. So a couple things that I want to go over. One, if you could hit the link at the bottom of the screen, www.sbrvideo.com/thebag. That means so much to me. Hit that link. Check out our best sportsbooks page. That helps me very, very much. Also, we have the Beat the Bag Pegasus edition coming up this Saturday. My dad is taking part in it too, the man who raised me at the track. I need you guys to jump in the contest. I need you. Jeff Joseph, Omaha Beach on top with higher power just behind. Love this straight exactor. What about tax, Jeff? Is tax not ready to fire? I still got to do work on the card. Jeff, what do you think about tax? I love the fact that Spun to Run and Mucho Gusto are away to the outside. Makes the cap quite easy. Ty Clinton, who had McNeese yesterday, great call. There was a few people won. William Cathcart gave that his play of the day. A few people on McNeese. A lot of cashers yesterday. Great work by everybody. Bubbarito ready to get to work. There's DX Filer in the house. Okay, So it's a free contest. The more of you guys enter, the more I can have, and the more money we can have. $250 to the winner. So first off, here is the contest. I'll put it again on again at the end of the show. But if you guys could jump in and just say that you're in, that would mean so much to me. There you go. And here is the program. The program. So all you have to do is just pick the winner of each race and put it in the forum. There's the program right there. Just click on that program, pick the winner of each race, put it, and the more of you guys in it, then the more I can do, the more of these contests I can do. All right, let's bring in our guy, Anna Merrick, starting off our Thursday show. First time we're starting off with UFC. Let's get after it. Anna Merrick, star of the Die Hard MMA podcast, in the house, coming to us live from Phoenix, Arizona. Anna Merrick, how are you doing on this Thursday morning?
Doing great, Jimmy. Fun to kick the day off here with you on the Low Bag Show. Congrats on your big-ass day yesterday. That was awesome.
Thank you. It was much needed. Very, very needed. But it's nice. $7.98 profit for me. I did cut my player props down to $100. Those player props cash so easy. A whole bunch of us were on Carl Anthony Towns, but also the Laurie Marketing prop. I really think, I know we need to talk UFC, but man, anytime a shooter goes 0 for 7 or 0 for 8, you back them the next game, they're going to cash. Troy Brown Jr. did that for me last week as well. Let's get to work. Set the stage for us, Anna Merrick. Where are we for this UFC?
So this week, hot off the heels of the McGregor return, we're headed to UFC Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'll be honest, Jimmy, things were a little bit hectic this morning. I didn't realize I was starting the show off. So I don't have any fun facts for you like I usually do. We're just going to have to get straight into the capping.
Well, let's get straight into the capping right now, my friend. Let's get after it. I'm going to pull up the odds page, the best odds page on the planet. I'm going to go over to UFC. Let's start breaking down the card. What's the look on this card that you're aching to make a move on?
So we are kicking the night off straight away. The first fight on the card is this kid, Nate Landwehr, the Train. He's coming over from M1. He's making his UFC debut, and he is facing off against another UFC debutant, Herbert Burns. Now, Burns is a name we all recognize. His older brother, Gilbert, is in the UFC, and he's one of my favorite fighters to bet on. But what I always tell people is when it comes to MMA, when there are siblings and they both make it to the top level, there's a good one and there's a bad one. Gilbert Burns is the badass. Gilbert Burns is the good sibling. Herbert Burns is a shell of his brother, and I think this is a spot that he's going to get wrecked in. He's got sick Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that is about it. The Train is going to run him over. His opponent's combined records from over an M1 is 71, 15, and 0. So he has been killing it against very high level, very experienced level content for a long time before getting to the UFC, and he's only minus 115. That's where I snagged him. I locked him up at minus 115. He might be about minus 120, minus 125 now, and I love that play to kick our card off.
Herbert Burns opened up as the favorite at minus 120 at Pinnacle, now plus 105, a 25-cent move towards Nate. Kicking off the card with Nate at a minus 115 price. He's not there anymore. Actually, he's minus 110 at Bet365. Strangely enough, minus 120 or 125 everywhere else. What's next on your card?
The next fight, we're going to take Brett Johns. He's a small underdog. I snagged him at plus 105. I think he's even money at this point. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a Judo brown belt, and then he's also a Muay Thai specialist. We haven't seen him in a year. He's coming off of back-to-back losses against two of the top 5 in his division. So it's no surprise that he took a couple of losses, taking big steps up in competition. He's only 27 years old. He took a year off. I'm expecting big improvements, and he is welcoming a new kid to the UFC who's coming off of Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. I think this is a great spot where you've got a veteran fighter with a much higher ceiling and level of experience welcoming a new bright-eyed kid to the UFC. You get that adrenaline dump. You've got those nerves on your first fight. I'm going to roll with the vet here. I got Brett Johns at plus 105. I think he's going to be able to stuff the takedown. He might even be able to lock up a submission, but if he can keep this thing standing, he is the far better striker and should win a decision.
Brett Johns opened up at plus 125. There's been a 20-cent move towards him. There are still plus lines out there. The only real plus line, though, is plus 105. The rest are plus 100s, plus 105 at Pinnacle for Brett Johns. All right, we're getting started with Nate and Brett Johns. What's next?
Well, we have got Darko Stosic, this kid from Russia. He used to fight at heavyweight, dropped down to 205, came over to the UFC, and he's got a real grappling heavy style. He's got some great leg kicks, but he's a little bit low volume. He struggled in his last couple of fights, and I swore to myself I would never bet on him again. However, he recently made the move He switched out to Team Elevation and is trading with Curtis Blades, who is fighting in the main event. For a kid with his style, that's exactly the type of gym that he needs to be at. If he can increase his cardio, increase his output, and work with a guy who has basically perfected the style of fighting that he's trying to employ, you couldn't ask for much more. He's a dog in this situation, and once again, he's welcoming a kid off of Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Those guys get their UFC contracts by being flashy and by putting themselves on the line, putting themselves in bad positions, compromising spots, just to be exciting, just to be spectacular, and it works out for them. But when they get to that next level, they tend to struggle because those flashy spots just don't present themselves like they do against the lower level of competition they're used to. So once again, I'm going to rock with the kid coming off a couple losses, more experience, higher ceiling, looking for a bounce back spot against the UFC newcomer. I got him at plus 115. I'm going to roll with Darko Stosic. He gets one more shot from me. If he fucks this up, we're done.
Darko Stosic opened up at plus 120, now down to plus 105. Good work getting him at plus 115. Money coming in on Darko Stosic. What's next?
I'll be quick here. We're going to take a real big, juicy dog, Jordan Espinoza. He's fighting an opponent who's got more UFC experience than he does. However, he is incredibly athletic. He is far faster, and he's the type of guy that you can see drastic improvements from because he's got those physical athleticism cheat codes that his opponent doesn't. When you look at their numbers, even though there is a difference between the level of competition they fought, their numbers are identical. So he is just going to be the more athletic guy. I think this line is way too wide, so I got to hit plus 235 and hope for the upset.
Plus 235. There we go. The first big dog line on the card for our Anameric. Beautiful. Love it. Keep rolling, man. What's next?
All right, we're going to close the show out, Jimmy, with a parlay. We've got the co-main event and the main event. We are going to play Rafael Dos Anjos in the co-main event, and we're going to play Curtis Blades in the main event. Now, this might sound a little bit square, but we're getting minus 107 parlaying these two favorites here together. Rafael Dos Anjos is a former UFC lightweight champion. He's moved up to 170, and only the top three people, literally the top three fighters at 170, have been able to stop him, and that's through impressive high-level grappling. Anybody else can't hang with him. He's beaten everybody else at 170 he's fought. He's taken on Michael Chiesa, who's an overblown 155er and a busted prospect. People expect him to have new life up at 170, but you know what? He's a grappler, and he doesn't have the top-level wrestling that those other guys did. So if he can get RDA on the mat, maybe he can submit him. But RDA has fought the who's who of 155, the toughest division in the UFC, and he has never been submitted in his professional career. I think he keeps this one standing and boxes up Chiesa, who has no striking to speak of. Closing out the parlay, we're going to go on the main event. Curtis Blades takes on Junior Dos Santos. And this is another spot where I'm going to take the grappler. We're grappler heavy this week at UFC Raleigh. He is a chain wrestler, and Junior Dos Santos is not the champion that we used to see. The dude's got power, but literally the only person to beat Curtis Blades is Francis Ngannou. And both of those were, one of them was an eye swelled shut, so he never actually got finished. And the other one was a knockdown that the referee arguably stopped the fight a little bit early. So he hasn't really taken any bad losses at the UFC level. Junior Dos Santos is a former champion, but he's getting old. He has slowed down, and he doesn't have that death touch that he used to. I think that Curtis Blades is going to be able to wrap him up, chain grapple him, and just wear him out. Might even get a round 4 TKO when Junior just can't get back to his feet anymore.
Curtis Blades Dos Anjos parlay to cap this off. Seth Dominus shortly, 5 minutes, Seth Dominus. Beautiful. Dos Anjos Blades in the big fights here coming up this weekend. A parlay at minus 107. And every fighter you are on, the market is moving towards them in some form of another. And America, can you please review your action on this card?
Absolutely. We're kicking our night off with the train. Choo-choo. We're going to go with Nate. He's minus 115. We have got Brett Johns, a slight dog, at plus 105. I've got Darko Stosic at plus 115. We're going to roll the dice big time on Jordan Espinoza. He's our big dog at 235. Then we're going to parlay the two big boys in the main and co-main event for minus 107. And Jimmy, that's a 2-unit parlay for me. I hit that bad boy twice at minus 107. So I'm going big on that parlay. That's my favorite pick on the card.
Dos Anjos Blades 2-unit parlay right there. Follow this man on Twitter at Maximus in 3D is his personal spot. And tell us a little bit about your Die Hard MMA podcast at Die Hard MMA POD. Tell us a little bit about that podcast.
At Die Hard MMA Pod on Twitter. That's where you get all my stuff. I've already tweeted out an early bet for not one, but 2 UFC events ahead of schedule because I like it just that much. I've got 2 spots on this card, in fact, that the market is getting wider, and I'm looking to fade the market move. I might be pulling the trigger on another couple of spots here, but you got to follow me on Twitter to get that. The Die Hard MMA podcast has been rolling. We started it in 2019. We ended up plus 19.8 units for last year. We're looking for a big 2020. Come hang out with me.
I love it. I love it. And we will have you live once more, right? It's not, we get you live next week too, right?
There's a break next week, actually, Jimmy.
Okay.
So there's a break next week, and then we've got a big John Jones UFC pay-per-view the week after that.
Okay, sweet. I love having you on the show. There he is, Anna Merrick. Follow him on Twitter at Maximus in 3D and follow his podcast. Also follow that on Twitter at diehard MMA POD. And Americ, I think I'm going to roll with you on this parlay. I'm excited about Saturday because we got the Pegasus World Cup and it can roll in the UFC. I'm excited. I think I'm going to roll on this parlay with you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us and have a very successful weekend.
Thanks for having me, Jimmy. I'm happy to hear. Let's get that cash. Good luck on all your action, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
There we go. We are off and rolling. UFC in the books. And that Dos Anjos Blades parlay does sound good. Getting love here from the chat. Deer Slayer Ski says, great breakdown, Clint. Dave Berkey says, love these looks on UFC. We got Arnold Valentine in the house. Mitch Bruner, Dana Delp, Sports Have Balls, Dave Chamilio, Lance Dudek, A. Hilly. What a great, great group. Junior Smitchum, Moses Saucedo. Let's get to work right now on this NBA card. First off, Freddie. I see Freddie in the ones and twos. Freddie, can you pop up my NBA record, please? It took a bad hit a couple days ago, and we just got 4 units back, so it's okay. It's an okay spot. Can you expand the screen so I can see it too? It's okay. Plus 5.74 units. We opened up the season very quickly into double-digit units, and then I've just kind of been treading water. But this is the 3rd year of, publicly dropping NBA moves in front of you guys, and we've won every year, and I expect to win again this year. There's Gerardo Hernandez. There's Hugo Gill. Says, La Bum partying in New York City private club party. Very interesting. Playoff streets killed NBA last night. Alice Mabry says, no NHL. Jimmy's going to go insane. It's all good because we have NBA and NCAA basketball, and we have our Teddy Covers joining us shortly. Let's start with Battle of the Bums. Bum fights, as our DJ Big Boss would call it. Wizards, Cavaliers. Wizards, Cavaliers. Let's go to the best odds page on the planet, sportsbookreview.com, and let's move over to NBA spreads and totals and see what we are dealing with. Cleveland opens up at -1. This morning, if I wanted, I could have got them at 1 or 1.5. They're now at -2. And they're a difficult team to trust. This total opened up at 231. It's now at 231.5, at Pinnacle. It's 231 everywhere. 232 at Heritage. And 230.5s have just now hit the board. Wizards 5-18 on the road on the second half of a back-to-back after losing 134-129 in Miami last night in overtime. Wizards pace last 5 9th in the NBA, 102.07. Cavs pace last 5 19th at 99.60 possessions a game. Bradley Beal finally went off. Looks like he's fully recovered from his leg injury, but is it going to affect him on the second half of a back-to-back? Probably. We saw him struggle the first 3 games coming back from the leg injury. Now he goes for 38 points, 16 of 24 shooting, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Is he hurting today? Davis Bertans goes for 24 points. They have lost 5 straight road games. Cavs have lost 5 in a row and 10 of 12 coming off that ugly 20-point loss at home to the lowly Knicks on Monday night. Cavs were outscored 30-14 in the third quarter, scored just 36 in the second half, shot 34% in the game. Garland and Sexton went 10 for 14 combined. Kevin Love 4 of 14, and Tristan Thompson was getting all the boards, but nobody could get the ball in the bucket. Let's bring in Teddy Covers now on this Thursday morning, coming to us live from Las Vegas to break down these NBA games and NCAA basketball. Teddy Covers, how are you doing on this Thursday morning?
I'm doing pretty good today, Jimmy. I got no complaints, although I got to admit, it's still early here in Vegas. So
I smashed last night, 7-1, 4-0 in NBA, 1-0 with another big first period casher with the Jets. I bet it at plus 145, gave it out on the show at plus 156, and then 2-1 in NCAA basketball, 7-1 up 6.43 units, and made me feel very good. Thank you for getting me off the LeBron James props. And I wish at that point I wish I had jumped on the under, because everything did make sense to the under, and I did not do that. I also wish I jumped on the Pacers with you. Let's talk about this spot here. Wizards, Cavaliers, Teddy. Is there a move to make?
So it's funny. I had leans on all three games in the NBA tonight, and I haven't pulled the trigger on any of them. So I'll tell you why I didn't pull the trigger on this one. My first lean in this game, and my priority number was Cleveland 2.5, and I'm like, if I see Cleveland 2.5, I'm going to look at Washington plus. The Wizards, and that's just the first lean, and then you start working the game, and then you see, all right, I'm not playing Washington. But the Wizards were talking, they're 14-29, and they were talking, all right, we want to make a playoff run. We want to make a push. We're not, and Cleveland, there's no talk coming out of Cleveland. They know they're not getting there. Washington's still dreaming the dream or hoping the hope or whatever they're thinking, to think that they're still alive. And last night in Miami, they kind of showed that, hey, we're going to fight. Beal goes 16-24. Bertans is draining threes. All right, they hit better than 50% from the floor in that game and lost. They had 30 assists, 11 turnovers, and lost. I don't like betting teams the day after they have a 50% shooting percentage and lose, and a team after they have a 30-11 assist ratio and lose, because they're not going to do it better on the offensive end the next night. Cleveland's been favored 4 times this year. My whole thought process in the initial, that Cleveland can't be favored. The games they're supposed to win, they just don't win. They were favored all 4 times this year. They lost all 4 games in straight up fashion, all against teams like Washington. But the quotes coming out of the Cavs locker room after the last game, a real no-show, an ugly performance, and the effort wasn't there, and the energy wasn't there, and the quotes were like, all right, we're ready to throw that in the garbage can. We have games like that occasionally, but there's no lingering effect. There's no carryover. We're ready to go out and beat somebody. So maybe the Cavs can cover as a favorite tonight. The more the initial lean was towards the Wizards plus, but as you break down the game, the signs point towards Cleveland. And of course, the money's coming towards Cleveland too, which means A, we miss the best of the number, and B, I'm not going to lay points with a team that hasn't won a game as a favorite all year. So I'm going to leave it on. Pass.
I get it, but God, everything just screams Cleveland here. 3rd game in 4 nights for the Wizards, coming off OT. Is Bradley Beal even going to play in this game after the leg injury? God, and then, I just keep getting flashbacks of that second half against the Knicks, because that was part of my worst day of the season on MLK Day. And then here we have Viper and B saying, I wouldn't be surprised if both teams lose. Alvin Smith says, no bet game. I just, because there's still a -1 at Heritage. God, how do they not pull this off? How could they not pull this off here? But I can understand staying away from them when the way they're playing. At least we can trust Garland and Sexton to step up and have a better game. God, what do you think about this total, Teddy, opening at 231.5 and somewhere around there? You can get between 230.5 to 232 depending on where you shop.
Honestly, when it comes to the Wizards, I'm not interested in playing Wizards games over, or under, I should say. Washington, from a defensive standpoint, they're as weak as it gets in the NBA. I don't know that there's a team that has worse rotations, has less low post shot blocking. The Wizards really are bottom of the barrel defensive team, and I hate playing teams like that under the total because they can't get stops when they need them. All that said, the Cavs are a bottom of the barrel offensive team, and Cleveland, struggles to reach 100 on a nightly basis in an era where the good teams are getting to 120 every night or close to it. So the Cavs are not a team I'm excited about playing over in any given ball game. If I had to play it, I'd probably look under, just because the Wizards shot so well last night. They're on the second of back-to-backs. I don't think they're going to push pace here, and I'm not convinced that the Cavs are good enough offensively to take advantage of that. So if I had to play it, I lean under, but it's nothing I'm anywhere close to getting the betting window with.
Christopher Carter puts it nice. Says have not won a game as a favorite all year. Great stat. Training camp opened in October. It's the 23rd of January. We're saying in betting they are due. They are due. Sweaty Pitcher says Cavs since 2017 are 0-16 against spread, coming off a game where Tristan Thompson's plus-minus is more than 10. That's a strange stat there. Let's move on to Lakers, Brooklyn right now. I'm not going to make a move on the Cavs. When you come off a 4-0 night, last thing you want to do is start your day with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Lakers, Brooklyn. Lakers open up at -6. They're now down at 5.5. The total at 229 now. Is still 229 in bookmaker, 228.5 at 5 dimes, 228 everywhere else. Sorry, let's talk about this spot right here. Let me get to my notes. So we have a nationally televised game. Lakers on the second half of a back-to-back. Their pace last 5, 13th in the NBA. Nets pace last 5, 5th in the NBA. The Lakers rebounded nicely, I guess, with that 8-point win at MSG. I mean, they were in control all night. James scored 21 points early. Got Anthony Davis involved in the second half. He puts up 28 games. Second game back from missing 5 games to a bruised gluteus maximus. James 9-2 all-time against Irving. He seems to step up in those situations. He seems to step up on national TV. Nets are coming off their 4th straight loss, 117, 111 at home versus Sixers. But this is a tough group of teams that they've lost to. Jazz, Sixers, Bucks. And then I have the Sixers again. I think I might have... mess that up. Teddy covers Lakers, Nets. Move to make here?
So I could only lay with LA. I'm not stepping in front of the Lakers, especially on the road and especially against teams that are struggling. And the Nets, what are they, 2-11 their last 13? I mean, the Nets are struggling in all kinds of different ways. I don't think this is a long-term problem for Brooklyn. We saw Houston get right last night. I'm like, all right, their struggles may not be long, and we're going to keep betting against them till they get right. But at some point, they're going to get right. And at some point, the Nets are going to get right. And this could be that spot, one would think. But, I mean, so we have the Lakers on the second of back-to-backs off a low-energy effort last night, where they just took care of business, workmanlike against the Knicks. In terms of minutes, the minutes were fairly reasonable. In terms of shooting percentages, they were reasonable. There's nothing that we can't expect LA. LA's been good on the second of back-to-backs. They've been good on the second of back-to-back on the road. The only way I can play this is the Lakers. Lakers are better than the Nets. They're bet on the road. But from a point spread bargain standpoint and from a spot standpoint, like I said, I mean, Brooklyn has gone through a rough scheduling stretch. They played a bunch of good teams, and they haven't been able to step up against them. But all hands on deck tonight for the Nets. They're going to be as healthy as they've been. And it's one of the games where you just expect Brooklyn to bring it. And, at 5.5 is not a bargain with LA. They're the better team. They should supposed to win the game. But on a night where their desperate opponent's going to bring it, it's not a bargain price. So it's, lean Lakers. I'm not getting the window with it. Total-wise, really interesting because obviously the Lakers showed a lot of slowness last night. Under might be worth a look in this one as well. I'm not convinced Brooklyn's going to run with them. So it might be worth a look.
Might be worth a look. There was movement a couple hours ago to the under. Pinnacle's moving it in that direction at 228. Opening at 229. D. Summer says Brooklyn 2-11 against the spread in their last 13 games. Total's gone over in 4 of Brooklyn's last 6 games. Total's gone over in 6 of the LA Lakers' last 7 games. So that's from our D. Summers in the house. I'm not making a move there at that point. Alex Ramirez has come in with his Spidey play today. It is on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's talk about Mavericks Blazers, Teddy. And when I first started capping this game, I went right to that Mavericks Clippers spot where there was a lot of looks towards the over, and we talked about the pace last 5, and each team had the slow pace last 5, and you were talking about the under being the look, and it went way under. Mavericks, Blazers, same situation. I mean, one team's the same easily, already, with Pacers last 5, pace 27th. But the Blazers pace last 5, 20th. And the reason why I almost made a move on the under, but wanted to talk it out, it actually opened at 229.5 at a few books. Pinnacle opened it up at 229. So, and Jin Rami already on the under 229.5. Jin Rami, is that in the Lakers game or the Blazers game, Jin? So Lillard gets that, franchise record 61 points in that overtime win over the Warriors. He goes for 11 3-pointers. So my first thought is he's going to, regress to the mean. We have C.J. McCollum, who is questionable now and likely going to be in the lineup. I don't know if you have any more information on whether McCollum will be back in the lineup, but it looks like he will. He was doing shooting drills with the coaches, and looks like he will be back. If not, Anthony Simmons and Gary Trent are playing okay. So Hassan Whiteside will be in the game. Well, I shouldn't say 100%, but probable, growing contusion, probable to play. So the way I see this shaping up is this Mavericks team just watched Dwight Powell rupture his Achilles tendon. So they're shook a bit. And then Doncic is going to be going one-on-one all day with Lillard, one-upping each other all game. That will slow the pace down. And the under is screaming at me. Now, the last time these teams played, I believe they got up to 233. But I feel like the under is in play here. Are you making a move in Mavs Blazers?
So they played, was it last Friday? I know they played it last week. I watched it last week. And it was a pretty good game. Fourth quarter, Blazers in Dallas. It was a 6-point game. Was it a 6-point game or a 4-point game? Portland Portland got stops on 4 consecutive possessions stretch against the Mavs, and then had empty offensive possessions 4 straight times. Lillard took a couple of bad jumpers and missed, and then he dished the ball off a couple times, and then everybody missed. And then Dallas hit back-to-backs, and it was ball game, and they ended up winning by 8. I believe the final was 120-112. Dallas hit 23s in that game, all right? And they got to 232. So, Dallas hitting 23s, and they're only at 232, assuming a more normal roll of the dice from 3-point range, because it wasn't like Portland wasn't hitting threes either. There were a lot of threes in that game. But the under in the short turnaround rematch certainly makes sense to me, especially with Whiteside playing. Without Whiteside, the Blazers have no low post defense. It's a problem. Although I read a report that Nurkic was back in practice, was actually practicing with the team. So, and they're going to get Trevor Ariza in the lineup tonight, who, as a wing defender, Ariza still brings something to the table. So I had no arguments with a look at the under in this game. It makes perfect sense to this better. From a side standpoint, and this is the one where I went back and forth on, and when I go back and forth, I don't get involved. Usually, Dallas has been real good off a loss. Good enough that I don't want to bet against the Mavs off a loss. All that said, Portland gave them everything they could handle in Dallas last week, and the Blazers, unlike the Mavs, are playing for their season right now. We saw that with Lillard's effort the other night. Portland, if they're going to be a playoff team, which, again, they were in the Western Conference Finals last year, they got to win games, and they know it, and there's an urgency there. And we saw it. But, again, they're in overtime games against Golden State. It doesn't give you all that much confidence to say, all right, you're going to beat Dallas tonight. So I leaned home dog. I didn't want to step in front of the Mavs off a loss. No argument with an under here. I haven't pulled the trigger on any of it.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and make a move on this under. Under 229 and minus 102 is the best line I can get. That is at Pinnacle. Under 229 and minus 102. Felipe Fernandez says, will Portland have Whiteside today? We expect them. Hattori Hanzo is backing the Mavs. Tormino says, Doncic can't guard Lillard at all. But if that's Lillard, if Lillard and Doncic go head to head, that's going to take time off the clock. Those aren't, quick break, fast break points. So I'm going to make a move there. And Princess C said, why did line jump 3 points since last night? And McCollum coming back. I believe that CJ will be coming back, but I've not seen this line jump 3 points. I wonder what book that was at, because Pinnacle was very hesitant to pull out I was waiting for the total for a long time. But let's keep rolling. We got Teddy here right now. Let's take advantage of it. I'm only on the under 229 and minus 102. Rashim rolling with me on that under 229 and a half. Teddy, let's get after it. Have you made any moves in NCAA basketball this evening?
I have. I like the card. But, yeah, that Dallas-Portland was never one. That was never I never saw a line like that. Every opener I have is 4 or 4.5 on that ball game. So if you saw one, I hope you grabbed it. In college hoops for tonight, I made 3 moves. And I really like all 3. So I didn't do anything in the NBA. But I like all 3 in college. Betting number 647, Michigan State. I put 3.5 in my pocket. You can still find it. 4 is a prevailing number right now against Indiana. Sparty's playing good. A. B, they're in double revenge. Hoosiers swept them last year. I'm interested in Michigan against the team that swept them last year. And 3 is that Indiana's a fraud. They're a paper tiger. When you look at their schedule, all they've done is beat weak teams. I think Michigan State's going to roll this team out of the gym. I like Sparty a fair bit tonight, and I wouldn't hesitate even at the 4 right now. I laid with Houston, betting number 664. I put 9 in my pocket with the Cougars, and that number is still available, widely available against UConn. You watch UConn against a good defense, they're hopeless. I mean, they're hopeless. And Houston's got a good defense. The Cougs are bet on all the way right now, and the Huskies are going to foul. You know, they're going to be trailing and foul late. I think Houston, if they're not covering already in the latter minutes, they're going to go over the number in the last couple of minutes. I don't trust UConn to score points against good defense. This is a good defense, and it's a blowout spot for the Cougs against the Huskies team that I think is a little bit overmatched. I found some really good quotes for that game on both sides that may be very interested in the Houston side. And then the mother of all spots tonight, betting number 674. You have Colorado coming off a miserable loss, a poorly played loss. You have Wazoo coming off a great homestand in which they beat the 2 Oregon schools. Washington State glass chin on the road, Colorado blowout spot. I laid 13 with the Buffaloes. I think they'll have that spread covered at halftime. I would be surprised they win this game by 30 or 40. That's one that really stood out to me. So Colorado betting number 674. Houston betting number 664. And Michigan State betting number 647. 3 chalks tonight. I'm a chalk layer in college hoops, so let's root for blowouts.
Wow, I like it, and I love seeing Teddy cap NCAA and then Max, because Teddy hits the big games and Max likes to focus on the smaller games. You're right about the Cougars defense. What they did to Wichita State was very impressive. They held them to a season-low 30.4% shooting from the field on Saturday in that 65-54 win, won 12 of their last 14 games. And I can't wait to hear what Max has to say about this game, because UConn is his team. So Teddy making a move on the Cougars, also making a move on Michigan State here. So they had a nice bounce back in that home win against Wisconsin. They actually beat up Wisconsin, right? I mean, 67-55 was the final score, but they led a 25-point second half, end up at 12 points. And that was after that bad loss to Purdue. Then you are making a move on Colorado. So of the real big 4, of the 4 games with ranked teams playing in them, Teddy has moves on 3 of them. Washington State, very impressive with that back-to-back there. Shocking. Ellaby just stepping up in an enormous way. And Buffalo's coming off that ugly loss to Arizona, so expecting a blowout here. Teddy, the only ranked team or ranked game that you didn't make a move on is this Trojans-Oregon Ducks late game. Oregon opening up at -8. They're now at -9.5. USC coming off the 82-78 overtime win over Stanford. Okungwu playing very well. 16.9 points, 8.7 boards, 3 blocked shots. The man is a freshman giant. So Trojans come back from the largest second half deficit overcome in Pac-12 history against Stanford. Is that why? Is this a letdown spot for them going up against Oregon? And Oregon had a bit of a bounce back with their big comeback against Washington on Saturday. That came on the heels of that loss to Washington State that Teddy was referring to. What do you think about this Trojans-Oregon Duck spot?
So let me start with this. All right. Pac-12 can be Pac-12 can be tough at times. And I mean, the Pac-12 plays that I've won this year, and I do not have a winning record in the Pac-12. So the only spots I'm looking for in Pac-12 action are the ones that stand out for both teams. And this is the one that stands out for both teams for me. That's why I like Colorado in that game, because there's a bet against and a bet on. This one's not that spot. And no, I don't expect a negative effect, a hangover from USC off an incredible comeback win. I would think they're much more likely to carry that momentum forward. The money's coming the other way. That there's stuff to like about this Trojan team. Consistency isn't one of it, but talent-wise, they can compete with Oregon. Execution-wise, it's a little bit dicey, and they'll foul late, which does concern me. But I think 9.5 is a little bit rich for this one. If I had to play it, I'd look at the Trojans plus.
And were you close to making any moves on totals in the three sides for the big favorites that you're on? Did you come close to making any moves on the totals in those games?
I did. I know when it comes to college hoops totals, the guys that kill it are the guys that focus on college hoops totals. I'll get involved, but I'm not like betting 6, 8, 10 totals a day. And the guys that beat this, that's what they do. I've got a couple of people that I work with in college hoops totals. I bet some stuff that they send me. I've got one guy in particular who's real good with it. But, I tend to see sides more than totals. And the totals all pace in college basketball action. Or the action is all pace. And it's all teams looking to change their style of pace. As the season progresses, that's where you find your real outliers and your real moneymakers as January rolls into February. So to make a short story long, no. I didn't get involved in any of the totals. And you talk about they're ranked. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what team is ranked where. I haven't looked at college hoops rankings all years. I just go through my, the conferences that I work on and do my numbers. And then if the numbers say do more work, then you start going to the local papers.
Well, let's make a move here. We're waiting on Babano, but I know Max is itching for more time. So if Babano doesn't come in the next couple minutes, we will move over to Max. Let's talk a little bit about NFL and hear if Teddy's making any moves on any props that he wants us to know about. First off, let's give a shout out to my man Intex. 2016 says, WTF? Give me some love. 61 years in Kansas City, Chiefs Hall of Fame plaque. One of your oldest listeners. Come on, man. I love you very much. I also want to hear what you think about the Pegasus on Saturday. That's our guy, Intex, in the house. And Intex, I'm going to be going up against you with the 49ers in Super Sunday. Are you close to making any move in the props market, Teddy?
So the Westgate Superbook's going to put out their numbers here in Vegas tonight. And that's, from a Las Vegas standpoint, this is the mother of all prop sheets. It's about this thick when you get the book. But, of course, tonight you can't get the book because they have it all on the board. But I'll be down at the Westgate tonight. I think it's 7 o'clock Pacific time. And if you're in Vegas, if anyone out there is watching from Vegas, I'm sure we got some Vegas viewers on the show. Come down and say hi. It's a party literally like no other. When you talk about sharp bettors and wise guys, you don't see these guys, all right? They're not hanging out at the Sportsbook every Sunday. They're not, as a group, I'm not going to say antisocial, but they don't group together well. This is the only place, Thursday night at the Westgate in Vegas, where you legitimately see like hundreds of sharp bettors interacting and milling around. It's a sharp party tonight, and it's always a lot of fun. So I'll be at the Westgate tonight if you're around. Come by and say hi. But to make a short story long, once those numbers come out, that's when I really start deep diving into props. Right now, it's all been all right. Let's look and let's think, but once you get the sheet, that's when the market inefficiencies start to pop up because books will copy, but they'll copy stale numbers, and this is one time where you have to be line shopping, and every single account. And every single sportsbook that Jimmy's talking about, get involved because the line differences from one book to the next, the difference between winning and losing Super Bowl props. And you have to have the ability to line shop to be successful at doing this.
I love it. Teddy Covers at the Westgate this evening. If you're around in Vegas, stop by and have a beverage. Teddy, thank you so much for joining us. Very interesting looks on Teddy's NCAA basketball card, backing Michigan State, backing the Houston Cougars, and backing the Colorado Buffaloes to smash another Cougar team in Washington State. Thank you so much for joining us, Teddy. Can't wait to have you back on the show tomorrow. Teddy Covers here live every morning on Betting with the Bag. Thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
I'll be here as long as you'll have me, Jimmy. I appreciate it, buddy. Good luck, low baggers. Make some money tonight. Enjoy the games and win some bets.
I love it. We go and follow Teddy on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. We go right from Teddy to Babano. Babano joining us, coming to us live from Hamilton, Ontario. Babano, how are you doing, my friend, on this Thursday morning?
Hey, Jimmy, low baggers in the chat. Good to be with you on this Thursday. As always, it's nice to follow Teddy for a change. I like that we're shaking it up on the show today. And personally, I'm happy the NHL All-Star break is here. I know normally we talk NHL on Thursdays when I'm on, and I'm actually excited that the break is here. Need a couple of days to take a breather, take a deep breath, exhale, recharge the batteries, and get it going again for the second half of the season. But, there's still a huge college basketball card on tap. That's where the focus has been for me today. So lots still to talk about in terms of college hoops.
I felt like I was just heating up in NHL for the first time all year, other than that just coming at the start of the season, which I generally struggle at the start of the season, but I was trying to limit my bets and got up to double-digit units quick. And then I fell down to negative units. And, God, it was scary. Can we just pop up my NHL record quickly just to put a bow on it before we move into the All-Star break? Can you enlarge the screen so I can see it, please, as well? It's been a battle this year, but I felt like I was just heating up, Babano. Got the Jets' first period last night. Red Wings first period a couple nights earlier. Like, I just feel like I'm starting to get those big plus lines, but whatever. I'm upset. I'm angry that we're not talking hockey, but let's get into college basketball right now. Let's start going through your card. We don't have a lot of time, Babano. What are you looking at?
Let's start in the Colonial. I'm one of those guys that I'll look at any game. Big power conference game, mid-major game, doesn't matter to me. If I find there's a good betting opportunity, we'll try to strike while the iron is hot and try to take advantage of it. I'm definitely interested in the Delaware-Hofstra game. I like this Hofstra team a bit. I've cashed in with them a lot from a side perspective. They've absolutely dominated Delaware head-to-head, and I don't like what I'm seeing from the Blue Hens right now. Remember how everyone was getting so excited about this team and the way they were playing in non-conference play? They were winning games. They were covering point spreads. Well, they've been in a point spread free fall ever since the calendar turned to the CAA conference season. They have been a point spread disaster, really, for the better part of the CAA season. I think Hofstra matches up well with them, and they showed it last year when they won decisively in most of the head-to-head meetings. So I kind of like the favorite here. I like the total, though, even more in this game. And the total's gone up, and I agree with the move, 146 to 148. You look at this game from a statistical perspective, Hofstra's going to be able to score. They've got a lot of guys that can flat out shoot the basketball, and I think Delaware will struggle with that. Delaware is not a great defensive team by any stretch, but neither is Hofstra. Hofstra's ranked 268th in the country in field goal percentage defense, 44.5% shooting allowed to their opponents. And you look at Delaware, their strength is the offensive end. There's no question. They're actually hitting 47.8% as a team for the season. So you've got a 22nd ranked Delaware offense in terms of field goal percentage against an Hofstra team that is really low in terms of their defensive efficiency, in terms of their defensive field goal percentage allowed. So this is two teams here that I think should be able to find a bunch of baskets here and get this game over the total. You'll get some pretty good pace in this game as well. We know Hofstra under Mihalik always plays at an above-average tempo. So I think this total going up makes sense to me. I like the over with Delaware-Hofstra. Smaller play on Hofstra laying the point.
And what did you get the numbers at for both the over and Hofstra?
It opened 146. I got 147, and it's pretty much 148 right now across the board with this total, and I still like it at 148, obviously.
And Hofstra, you got it -7?
Yes.
-7. All right. Babano off and rolling. Delaware Hofstra over 147, and a smaller move on Hofstra -7. What's next, Babano? Take it away.
Look, Minnesota's been awful on the road, but I took 8 with them, with the Gophers tonight. Ohio State, I'm going to dare Ohio State to cover a point spread. Okay, the Buckeyes are 0-6 against the spread. They have just not played crisp, sharp, consistent basketball game in and game out. Their defensive game's eroded a little bit in recent games. Minnesota has at times been able to show that they can be competitive with certain teams. I know their road record's been tough, but to me, Ohio State laying points is a bit of a leap of faith right now. Other than one really impressive dominant showing that they had recently against, I believe it was Nebraska, it's really been tough sledding for Ohio State. They've been an overvalued commodity, and it's a good basketball team. I think at some point they're going to find, their footing again and start to go on a run, but there's no doubt they've been dramatically overpriced based on their recent results in Big Ten play. Minnesota, I think from a matchup standpoint, they've got some size in the interior that I think can frustrate Ohio State just a little bit and allow them to hang around in this game. And again, rebounding is something I think they can hold their own on the boards, and I think that's going to matter. Again, you get an underdog that you feel can get those second and third chance opportunities with the battle on the glass. Sometimes that's something I like to look at. So, and again, Ohio State 0-6 against the spread. They've just been one disappointing result after another. So I know it's a bit of a leap of faith here with Minnesota, knowing how the struggles they've had on the road. But I took 8 here with Richard Pitino's Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Minnesota +8. Minnesota +8. There's a third look on Babano's card. Babano, keep rolling away.
Keep rolling away. You know, if you're a college basketball fan, this is a game you should tune into. This is a great rivalry every year in the OVC. It's going to be an ESPN2 game. It's getting a nice national TV spotlight, and it deserves it, in my opinion. Belmont and Murray State. It's another total play for me, and it's another over for me in this game. The total opened 147.5 up to 149 in this game. These are two really, really good offensive basketball teams, in my opinion. Casey Alexander, to me, was the perfect fit for Belmont, after Rick Byrd retired, because again, it's a guy that plays a great offensive mind, plays fast tempo, spread the floor, spacing, that kind of basketball offensively, very much like Rick Byrd did all those years he was the head coach here in Belmont. It was just a great hand in glove fit. There's no dramatic scheme change. There's no dramatic system change. There's no massive overhaul that the players really have to worry about. Oh, we've got to just completely change the way we play. No, it's worked well. I like Grayson Murphy, Nick Muszynski. They've got just a tremendous amount of players that can shoot the ball at a very, very high level. You look at them, they're 56th in the country in terms of adjusted tempo. And they play the same kind of faster-paced basketball they did under Byrd. I think they'll be able to make some shots. Murray State's an okay defensive team, but even against some average teams in conference play, they've given up points, especially as of late here. So that's going to be a concern against Belmont. I think Murray State, on the flip side, certainly is more than capable offensively as well. They've shot the ball better as of late. This is probably going to be a close game, so you're going to have a chance for fouling late. It's very, very tough for me from a side perspective here. I know Murray State's taken the money a little bit. They open pick up to 2 here in this game, and I think it's because they're at home here. But I'm not selling Belmont short. Belmont has played really well. I think there's going to be a point where if I can get even 2.5 or 3, in this game with Belmont, I think I'll be interested in them as for some kind of bet as well if it gets to that type of number. But for now, for me, it's just the over in this game. Current number on that right now with Belmont Murray State over is 149. It looks like in most locations. There is 148.5 at Pinnacle, but most other books have 149. So we'll go with 149 as the total. Belmont Murray State over.
Belmont Murray State over 149. Jordan Smith says all over Murray State tonight. Close game. Can't wait. Matt Randall says also take Murray State tonight. That place will be rocking. As Babano mentioned, money coming in on Murray State. They open up as a pick'em. Now -2 at Pinnacle and 5 dimes. 1 or 1.5 at other books. And there's still one pick'em though at Heritage. I love it. We're rolling. The pace is nice, Babano. Let's keep rolling and do leave a couple minutes to talk about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. Next game, UTSA and North Texas. Point spread streakers right now, these two teams. I remember UTSA being a team that early in the season, I'm like, what's wrong with this team? There's talent. They got a good backcourt. I like the way this team's got the experience. They brought back a lot of players from last year's group, and they just got off to this woeful start. They were absolutely brutal, and I'm like, what's wrong with this Roadrunners team? Well, the last few games, they've started to play like the Roadrunners team I thought they would be early in the season. And these are the kind of teams I love betting at this time of year. Late January, early February, teams that struggled early in the season, struggled in non-conference play. But boy, when they flip the switch and they figure it out and they start playing better basketball, they can cash tickets repeatedly. And they can go on a 5, 6, 7, 8 game ATS winning streak in a lot of cases. I think this Roadrunners team is capable of doing that. It's not going to be easy against North Texas. North Texas has been a beast here in the Conference USA. It's a well-coached basketball team. It's an experienced group. They're great at both ends of the court. They're really like the Gonzaga of this conference. They can score, they play defense, they rebound. Very good in all 3 of those key areas. But this UTSA team is peaking right now. playing their best basketball. They've shown the ability to go on the road. I was very impressed the fact that they took care of UTEP, a pretty good UTEP team. Rodney Terry's done a good job there. It would beat UTEP 2 games in a row. I thought even in the revenge game, UTEP might be able to get them back. That didn't happen. This is a UTSA team that's undervalued because of the bad start. They've shown it. They're on a 4 or 5 game ATS win streak. I think they can hang within 10, 9.5 points tonight in this game. So I'm looking at the Roadrunners here, catching 9.5 against North Texas. North Texas has been great. It's not an easy team to bet against, but UTSA, if you match up, if UTSA had started the season strong, we might be talking about North Texas laying only 4.5, 5.5 here in this game, not 9.5. I think now UTSA is playing up to their potential, and I think it'll show tonight. I think they stay close with North Texas.
UTSA at plus 9.5. Robert Len says would like UTSA at home, but on the road they lose a little focus. Jonathan Succi, though, all over UTSA, saying they killing it now. Don Carleone says North Texas or nothing for him. But Bono, you have any other looks on your card?
I laid 7.5 in the Pac-12 with Oregon State tonight against UCLA. I don't think I buy UCLA here on the road, really, other than the road win against Washington. It's looking almost more like a fluke that they got that win. UCLA on the road against the Washington Huskies. They haven't played well on the road. They haven't played well overall. And really, their only win outside of that big win against Washington was when they beat Cal last week. And Cal's not a very good basketball team. And this is one of those, and I know you had Teddy on earlier. You talked about it with Colorado a little bit against Washington State, where, circle the wagons, you're back home, you're off a loss, and you're probably going to bring a really good effort. I sense that with Oregon State here. They got they had 2 tough losses last week on the road. They lost to Washington up in Seattle, and then against Washington State, they had a really bad game last weekend against the Cougars. Although Kyle Smith, guys, that guy can coach. All right, that Washington State team made a great hire. Look at the inroads and improvement that team has made already. Ernie Kent was a disaster. The moment they got rid of him, I said things can only look up for this program. He was horrendous as a head coach. I don't know why they kept him as long as they did, but they made a great hire. Kyle Smith had great success at the other programs he had been at. So Washington State, full marks for that win last week against Oregon State. So Oregon State had a tough road trip, against the Washington schools. Now they're back home off a couple of tough losses on the road. I think you get their A game. They matched up very well with UCLA last year when these two teams met head to head. And you look at this UCLA team, Mick Cronin trying to get this team to play more defense, slow the tempo down quite a bit. They're still not a great defensive team. A good offensive team can still light up this UCLA team. I think Trace Tinkle, Ethan Thompson, Kyler Kelly and company. It's a very experienced upperclassman type Oregon State team. I think they're going to fire back very, very strongly tonight here on their home court. And I don't trust the Bruins yet to step up in class against some decent teams on the highway. Oregon State's not a great team in this conference, but they're a good team. And I think they're in a very, very good spot and situation as well. So I laid 7.5 with Oregon State tonight.
But Bono, we only have a minute left here, but we have a question coming in from Al Hard asking what you think about the total. Try and keep this tight. The total in that Minnesota-Ohio State game, it's stuck at 134.
It's a good number. I would lean under a little bit in this game. I think this is a game where I could see both teams really struggling a little bit at the defensive end of the court. I know Minnesota at times on the road has struggled to score. I think Ohio State's offense just hasn't been quite as fluid and consistent game in and game out recently. So I'm not betting the total. I just want to throw that out there. But if I had to make a lean one way or the other, lean under the total in this one.
And we've got to make moves, Babano, and we're going to have you again next Thursday, which will be just a couple days before the Super Bowl. Have you made a move on the Super Bowl as of yet?
I am taking a good deal of time to think about this one long and hard because these are two good teams. These are two teams that I actually backed last Sunday in the conference championship weekend. I like Kansas City. I actually took Kansas City in a teaser with San Francisco, and I also laid the points with San Francisco against Green Bay as a single standalone bet. So these two teams were good to me, and these are two very, very good teams right now going into this Super Bowl. Right now, what is it? Kansas City 1.5 here in this game. I'll tell you what, Kansas City to me seems like right now I'm leaning Chiefs. And San Francisco's defense, I think, is probably the stronger defense. I as good as San Francisco's defense has been, Okay, Kirk Cousins and a limited Minnesota offense. Green Bay, very limited. Let's be honest, limited. Other than Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, and Devontae Adams, there was not a whole lot there on that Green Bay offense that scares you. If you're San Francisco now, you got to worry about them running the ball. You've got to worry about all the receivers they've got. You got to worry about one of the best tight ends in the NFL. In fact, these are the two best tight ends in the NFL, Kelsey and Kittle. I mean, it is a phenomenal matchup from that standpoint. But right now I'm leaning Kansas City. I have not pulled the trigger on anything. I'm waiting for the props. Jimmy, when it comes to the Super Bowl personally, I've got more of my bankroll, at least as much, if not more of my bankroll on the props than I do the side and the total. I definitely focus more on the prop wagers. And I can tell you, I can guarantee you, Jimmy, right now, one prop I will be on. This will be a bet. Patrick Mahomes over rushing yards. No brainer. No brainer. You're facing a San Francisco defensive front with Alexander, Ford, and Bosa healthy, together, intact on the field at the same time. That is a fierce, amazing pass rush. We saw it in both games that they won in the NFC side of the playoffs against Minnesota and Green Bay. This is a game where we can anticipate Patrick Mahomes having to innovate, be creative, and make plays outside of the pocket with his feet, much like he did against Tennessee, and he had no problem scrambling and finding plays on the run in that game. He's probably going to have to do it again here in the Super Bowl against a tremendous pass rush. I am absolutely going to be looking to hammer, Jimmy, bringing the hammer out. Patrick Mahomes over rushing yards, one of my favorite props already for the Super Bowl.
I can't wait to hear what else you're going to be on next Thursday, Babano. Thank you so much for joining us. Follow this man on Twitter at Babano. Ian Cameron, although on the Mahomes rushing prop, which is still was not available at my book as of last night. We'll see if it pops up. His passing yards up at 295.5. Babano on Oregon State plus 7.5. UTSA plus 9.5. Belmont Murray State over 149. Minnesota plus 8. Hofstra minus 7. Delaware Hofstra over 147. Babano, thank you so much for joining us. Have a very profitable evening, my friend.
Good stuff, Jimmy. Thanks. As always, good luck to the low baggers in the chat. Have a great Thursday night. Have a winning Thursday night. We'll see you again next week. There he is, Babano. We go right from Babano to Maxwell Smart. Maxwell coming off a 14-win, 11-loss, plus 1.91 unit showing yesterday and cashing easily the play of the day by, 25 points or so. Larry on the ones and twos. Please roll the intro.
It wasn't until 2018 that the diamond in the rough went from hooligan to king of the world.
The guy couldn't play for shit, dog. He was awful. But can he cap? Guess he can.
Maxwell Smart, great job yesterday. How are you doing on this Thursday morning?
I'm doing okay. I expected better for myself than what the results were, but the reality was I capped some games the wrong way, and I got a terrible beat on that Abilene Christian game. So I'm a little bitter, but I'm ready to go, and as you can see, I got enough plays out there already.
You did, though, some spectacular work on certain games. One of them was you nailing the South Dakota State game. South Dakota State minus 2.5. South Dakota State, North Dakota State over 143. And then adding the South Dakota State team total over 72 was very, very beautiful work. Your play of the day cashed by like 30 points, 25 points or so. That was very nice. Overall, a winning day. All you want to do is be in the black. And you were in the black last night. Great work. Let's get to work right now, Mags. We don't have a ton of time. Why don't you start with the spot that you want to talk about, and then I'll get everything else up on the card here.
Yeah, spot I'm going to talk about first is going to be this Fairleigh Dickinson Merrimack game. Well, now we've officially gone to the point where Merrimack is the favorite, laying multiple buckets at home, and it was a spot that I had to jump on right away with FDU at plus 7.5 minus 110. It's a simple spot. You have very good point guard play in Jahiel Jenkins versus Javarius Hayes. Javarius Hayes is a pickpocket, the nation's leader in steals, while Jahiel Jenkins has a very good assist to turnover ratio, and he is very good at protecting the ball, and he adjusts. This is an FDU team that passes the ball well. Xavier Malone-Key coming off a 23-point explosion. I expect FDU to bring their best at Merrimack tonight. If Merrimack had 7 or 8 points on their side, then I'd be going the other way. But this is a spot where I think that FDU is finally healthy. The rotation is together. You're getting some good production from Powell off the bench as a sophomore. Sometimes he's been starting, but with Elijah Williams and Caleb Bishop, these are the front court players that are going to be the difference in this game. They can beat you on the perimeter, they can beat you inside, and they guard well in transition. So Merrimack zone may be effective against other teams, but this FDU team will shoot over it.
FDU getting the day started with FDU plus 7.5. Plus 7.5. Robert Len saying, shout out, Jimmy. I showed you love on Twitter for showing Spurs love. My Spurs take care of us all. Took them love at dog money line cash in. I love it. That was a big, very, very helpful, Robert Lenz. All right, Max is rolling. FDU getting the day started with FDU. Max, you're also on Lipscomb here this evening, backing Lipscomb at home against Jacksonville. You got on Lipscomb minus 1.5. You smashed this market move. It's now 3 or 3.5. It does say Heritage is still hanging at 1.5. Max, why are you on Lipscomb here tonight?
Yeah, this is a spot where Lipscomb just has the value at the number. They have a dominant big man. They have multiple guards in the backcourt like Michael Buckland and Andrew Fleming that are quality players and play a lot better at home. This Lipscomb team's definitely been scoring the basketball a lot more as of late, where we were really calling their games to be in the 128 to 135 range. Now we're seeing them regularly get over 140. I think that the game against Liberty was a very good performance by them defensively and being able to score in transition and not allowing Liberty's defense to get set up and pack the paint. I think that at home, the Bison are going to be able to flex their muscle tonight against Jacksonville. I don't think that that Dave Bell and Amani Santos are going to be enough to stop them against a team that makes over 25 field goals a game, scores 70 points, has good ball distribution. And I think that a lot of their assists, if you look at the film and you watch their games, they end up at 3-point made baskets. So I think that the 3 is going to be critical for Lipscomb tonight. I look for KJ Johnson to snap out of his shooting slump and prove why he's one of the best ASUN freshmen of the year so far.
I love it. Rolling into Max's action, taking a good look at everything that he is on. His next look is Hampton at home against Campbell. Campbell opening up as 2-point favorites. Now Hampton is a 1-point favorite. You got in at +2. Great job. Why are you on Hampton?
Yeah, this is a spot where I think offensively there's just going to be a lot of problems for Campbell. I think that when you look at Campbell, this is a team that we're going to keep on saying it all year is a team that's learning how to play basketball, balanced team basketball without a superstar Chris Clemens. I think that Corey Gensler and Cedric Henderson are nice starting points, but against a team like Hampton who is going to get out and push the ball in transition as much as possible, I think it's just a dangerous spot for them, plain and simple. When I look at this Hampton team and the emergence of Ben Stanley to go along with Jermaine Moreau, it just adds a lot of intrigue to betting them on a game-to-game basis. And when I look at this Hampton team, they're giving up as many points as they're scoring. This is a team that scores 86. They're giving up 90. So it's going to be a battle of who's going to have their tempo. I think Hampton on their home floor is going to be able to lure Campbell into their kind of pace. And if Campbell's going to try and score bucket for bucket with Hampton, Hampton's going to win this game outright. So +2 is great. -1 still good. I think they win this game by 2 buckets.
Win this game by 2 buckets. We got Hampton +2. So we got FDU +7.5, Lipscomb -1.5, Hampton +2. And Max, you are also on this Murray State over. This was one of the spots that Babano jumped on. Belmont, Murray State. He got it at 149. You got it at 147. Why are you on this Murray State Belmont over? And do you think that we should stay off of it now that there's been a 2-point move to the over?
I don't think that you should necessarily be scared off by a 2-point move. I agree with Bobano in that it is the right move to the over, in my opinion, and by my numbers. I was I was arbitrage betting this game, so when it popped on my screen and I got my notification, it was a bet that I instantly put in. This is a Murray State team that I think that a lot of people underestimate what kind of scoring ability they have and the different ways that they can score the basketball. When you got big men like KJ Williams and Anthony Smith, who are in the top 25 in the Ohio Valley Conference in scoring and in field goal percentage, you know that first off, they can get on the glass, they can get you second chance opportunities, they can get you extra possessions, they can get to the free throw line, and they can do the scoring themselves. Then, if you think about it, there's depth on this bench for Murray State, and that comes by the likes of Denman Robinson and Devin Gilmore. Both these guys do a hell of a job of getting on the glass, and they're both capable of giving you a double-double off the bench in a surprise role. I think that defensive rebounding will lead to a lot of pushing in transition from Tevin Brown and the rest of the backcourt. And I think that with this Belmont team, we know what they can do offensively. We know the system that they're going to play. It's a game where I think that it gets to the 155 to 160 range.
I love it. Let's keep rolling along. Raven in the Desert coming in with his plays. We have Matt Randall's plays. We'll go over all of these. You are backing new Big Ten all-time assist record holder Cassius Winston and the Michigan State Spartans. You got him at -3. Teddy Covers is on them as well. Why are you backing Michigan State at Indiana tonight?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely plain to see that there's going to be a time where these Big Ten teams start to lose at home. I'm counting on Michigan State helping that trend turn around tonight. I think that with this Michigan State team, there is animosity towards playing in Indiana. I think that the record and their performances in past seasons with similar rosters and guys that are on this active roster, I think that's going to be the determining factor. It is a revenge spot. I do see revenge playing a big factor. I think that with Marcus Bingham Jr. finally entering the starting lineup with his size, rebounding, and rim protection skills, it's going to be perfect to stop Trace Jackson Davis, who is slick, who can get inside and can score multiple ways. You're going to have to use multi-approach defenders to get at him. You're going to have to bring weak side help defenders, and that goes to Aaron Henry. That's the guy that I'm looking to make a difference in this game. He can do a little bit of everything. He scores the basketball. He rebounds the basketball. He dishes the basketball. My one concern is what type of performance defensively are we going to get out of Rocket Watts? In past performances so far in conference basketball, we have seen teams try and take advantage of him and take the ball at him. I think that's something that is a glaring hole, but when you have a floor general like Cassius Winston, it's pretty hard not to take them at a bucket on the road against Indiana in a revenge situation.
You are backing Arkansas State at home against South Alabama. South Alabama opens up as 1.5-point favorites at Pinnacle. They're now 2-point favorites, 2.5 at Bookmaker, 1.5 at Heritage. You are on the home dog here, Arkansas State. Why is that?
Yeah, I hate to sound repetitive, but it's pretty hard to with the South Alabama team. This is South Alabama team that has fantastic talent all throughout the starting lineup and into a couple spots on the bench, but they just have not been able to put it together. I think that in this situation against Arkansas State, we know what Arkansas State does at home. They win at home. I think that this is an Arkansas State team that has revenge, losing 76-59. We've seen Marquise Eden really step up in conference play, and I think that with Mello Eggleston, this is a 6'8" guy that gives you a lot of different things. He's athletic. He can take you off the dribble. He's going to go to the glass. He's going to get rebounds, and he's going to take smart shots. I think that knowing the kind of defense and ferocity that South Alabama is going to bring when it comes to packing the paint and really closing out on jump shooters, I think that Arkansas State is going to be able to adjust, adapt, and get revenge on their home court. Listen, it's pretty plain and simple. This Arkansas State team plays games in races to 65. The first team to 65 in their game wins games. And if they get to 65 first, then they're winning this game against South Alabama tonight. So Arkansas State +2, we're on the money line. They're coming for revenge tonight against the Jaguars.
You are on Nebraska, Omaha, big favorites at home against Western Illinois. Opening at 11, they're there at most books. You Wager and Bookmaker have taken it to 10.5. Why are you backing Nebraska, Omaha?
Yeah, I think that this is just a situation where we've seen Omaha struggle on the road and be very dominant and efficient at home. Losing to Denver 91-76 was a horrendous loss for this Omaha team. It was really a dark cloud on the program. You can tell by player interviews and what the coaching staff said. They allowed Denver to shoot 55% from the field and 55% from three-point range. That is not going to happen again. I expect them to use the offensive firepower that they have in the backcourt with KJ Robinson and JT Gibson, and allow Matt Piles to do what he does: get easy buckets, high percentage looks, and let him do work on the glass and get you out in transition. Because Omaha is looking to come out. I think that against Western Illinois with Kobe Webster and company, I think that this is just a bad matchup and a bad situation for them to be playing, and I look for them to win this game and cover them with the 11 points for us.
Next up, Max, you are doubling up on the South Dakota game. South Dakota against PFW, Purdue Fort Wayne. South Dakota opening up at -7. They're at 7.5. You've got them at -7. You're also making a move on this over 146.5, which is where it stands at every book but Pinnacle, who's brought it down a half point to 146. Why are you on South Dakota? Why are you on the over?
Yeah, this is a real tough spot for South Dakota because, let's be honest, South Dakota owned the Mastodons for about 5 seasons, and now the last 3 games that they played, they've lost all 3. I think that this is a spot where, if you are looking to cash big on this spot, check yourself and keep your bet size appropriate, because this is a spot that, by the numbers, my numbers liked. But by my eye test, I think that the Mastodons could screw me here. So the way that I'm looking at it is, this is a team in Omaha that is definitely going to allow the Mastodons to score buckets. It's just a matter of what they're going to be able to do against the Mastodon defense. I think that with Tyler Hagedorn, you definitely have a guy that can go inside and out. He really tries to make shots when you need them, and they're going to need them tonight. I think that this is a game that they're going to want to win. I think that they're going to be comfortable on their home floor, and I think that with the way that they score the basketball and with the way that they defend, this total is definitely 5 or 6 points too low. South Dakota averages 77%. They hit almost 50% of their shots from the field and 40% from deep. I think that's going to be the difference in this game, and I think that we're going to get this over similar to how we did last night in the South Dakota State game. But I do think that IPFW is in for a little bit of a shock, because they don't have Harrell, and they don't have a couple other guys that they had last year that were a big difference maker. So little bit of a sketchy play, but if the numbers like it and my eye test likes it, I trust the numbers a little more sometimes.
Tennessee State, Austin P, Max. This total opened high, 150.5. You got it at 149.5 on the way down, but it kept going down. It's now down to 145.5 at Pinnacle, 147 at other books. It's all over the map. Heritage is still hanging at 150. I don't know if that's a... maybe that's a stale line. Maybe all these lines from Heritage are stale. I'll have to double check that here at SBRodds.com. I'll check that right away. But Austin P, Tennessee State, you're on the over here. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm not really worried about this game and this total staying under. I think that this game is going over by 5 or 6 points. Let's be frank, both of these scoring defenses have gotten a little worse when it comes to conference play, and both the offenses have raised by 2 or 3 points. This is a team in Austin P that was expected to take a step back, but the influx of young players have done a real good job, and we can't stop. And we have to talk about Jordan Adams and Carlos Paez. This is the backcourt duo that's averaging 23.5 points together. They hit their free throws. They are a fantastic complementary piece to Terry Taylor, because we know what he does. He gets you 25 and 10. He protects the rim. He plays defense, and that's what all these guys for Austin P do. They do a great job of defending. They do a great job of turning guys over and taking bad shots. I think that Austin P is going to definitely take advantage of the two distinct weaknesses that Tennessee State has: ball control and foul trouble. Foul trouble equals free throws. Ball control equals turnovers and fast break opportunities to score the bucket with minimal time coming off the clock. This is a physical Tennessee State team that if they use what they have down low, they can do some work. And let's not forget, Michael Littlejohn is one of the nation's top three-point shooters, hitting 3 a game and at 43%. So there will be points in this game because Austin P definitely surrenders a lot of threes, almost at 40%. So I'm not really worried about where this line's going. I think that Austin P and Tennessee State get this number over comfortably at the number I bet.
I love it, Max. Let's talk about another look that a bunch of great cappers are on. You are on it. Raven in the Desert is on it. Matt Randall's Taint Play of the Day is on it. William Cathcart is on it. That on it is Santa Clara. You are backing Santa Clara here this evening. Very interesting spot at home against Pepperdine. Opening up at 3 or 3.5, now up to 4. Still 3.5 at Heritage and Intertops and a 4.5 at Pinnacle. Why are you backing Santa Clara here tonight?
Yeah, Santa Clara's on a wicked home winning streak. It's pretty hard to ignore. The game against Pacific was quite indicative of that. We've seen a really good balance of scoring from guys like Trey Wirtz and Joseph Rankic and Taj Edie and company. I think that losing Caruso and his 11 points a game has hurt, but we've seen them been able to really step up and take guys from the Pine and really put them into the game. Jaden Badiko, he's taken over for Caruso in the starting lineup. He's done a fine job, 7 points and 5 rebounds a game. This is a team in Santa Clara that I think Trey Wirtz is really taking more control of the scoring and really demanding the ball more. That's indicative by his 17 points on his 65% shooting. I think that at home, this is a Santa Clara team that is confident, comfortable, and I think that with Pepperdine, this is a team that I had a lot higher expectations for, but in crunch time, they seem to have trouble staying in the game. I think that they definitely have to defend the 3 and try and keep Colby Ross out of the paint. That's easier said than done. But in the end, I think that offensively and defensively, that's where Santa Clara is going to have their advantage. They're going to be able to take out Pepperdine, I think, by 7 or 8 points. So you still have a lot of value at the line that's right now.
Our guy, Ty Clinton, looking for an under. And not a lot of unders being put out on this board right now. A lot of people going overs. Our Raven in the Desert gave the under 155 in that Santa Clara game. What do you think of the total there?
I would have to look first through my my betting software to see what type of notifications I got. But anything that started in the 150s and went down at least a point, I always refer to the Josh Applebaum system of conference unders, and that's the way that I look at it. If it's gone down, then I would be agreeing with Raven in the Desert on the under, but I'd still have to look at the line, and I haven't done that.
Gone down a half point. You are on 1 under tonight, so Ty Clinton will be interested to hear that. You're on this Portland State, Sacramento State under. You got 134. On our SBR odds page, it's not listed in a bunch of the books. Why are you on this Sacramento State under?
Yeah, this is a Sacramento State team that just is one of the best defensive teams in the nation. It's blatant to see what they do defensively. 55 points a game allowed, 37% from the field, 28% from the three-point line. I think they're definitely coming off some pretty poor performances, but I've said that before. This is a team that has trouble on the road and plays a lot more dominant at home. This is definitely going to be a battle of tempos tonight versus Portland State. We know what Portland State does. They want to get up and down the floor, score close to the bucket, or shoot the 3 if it's available. The fact is, the Vikings have definitely played less stellar on the road. Sacramento State has definitely been more dominant in this series, and I think with a dominant player like Josh Patton down low, you always got a guy that can get you a bucket. We've seen the three-point shooting be quite significantly better at home than on the road. I expect Sacramento State to win this game. I expect them to play their pace of game, and at 135 or 134 like I got, it's just a number I couldn't resist taking, and my numbers agree with it. I had this game lined at 126.5.
I like it. Max's last look until we get to additions. We don't have a ton of time. Is Liberty. You're backing Liberty at -5.5. Another market move that you defeated. It's up to 7 at Pinnacle. Why are you on Liberty?
Yes, apparently the line opened at 2.5, but considering offshore, Sportbet and 5 Dimes are the first ones to release the added board. I don't know how the hell I missed that number, considering I have betting software that I pay hundreds of dollars a month for. So that's a little perplexing to me. But the reality is, Liberty has had trouble with North Florida. They've had trouble with North Florida in their building. They have not won in that building. But this is a Liberty team that I think that, although I think they're a little weakened than last year, are still that good defensively. They're still that good on the road. And I think that with the experienced scoring of Caleb Holmesley and Giorgio Pacho Ortiz and Darius McGee, I think that you got enough to battle, score enough to cover this, and get your first win in North Florida's building. They're a talented North Florida team. I like their team. I like Gandia Rose. I like Wahid Aminu. I like Garrett Sampson company. But in this matchup, I'm a Liberty guy. I like Liberty. My numbers like Liberty, and that's what I bet.
There we go. That's the action that Max is locked in already. FDU plus 7.5, Lipscomb -1.5, Hampton +2, Arkansas State +2, Murray State over 147, Michigan State -3, Omaha -11, South Dakota -7 over 146.5, Austin P over 149.5, Santa Clara -3, Sacramento State under 134, Liberty -5.5. Tim Montana is on Montana -5. We're going to be going over more looks from the cappers in the chat. He's also on Michigan State first half. Michigan State first half.
Sorry, Jim.
Yeah.
There were 3 other plays. I don't know if they got sent to you in your DM though.
Okay, no worries. I will pull them up. Why don't you talk? I'll take a look at your Twitter feed, and why don't you talk about one of them right now while I'm doing that?
Yeah, so the first game I want to talk about out of those 3 is Robert Morris. This is probably one of my most highly coveted spots that I'm on today. Listen, Josh and John Williams has done a fantastic job scoring the 3-point basket. That's what this team has done ever since they moved into the People's Court at UPMC Event Center. This team has been efficient, taking care of business, scoring 82 points a game, shooting 48% from the field, and they got inside-out offense. When you look at AJ Brahma, you thought that he was going to be out with a back injury. Well, you know what? He keeps on hitting career highs in scoring. I think that he's going to get another double-double. I think tonight Robert Morris is going to be able to take it, and this is a number where I just I can't get away from them. I can't get away from Robert Morris. They're going on the road. They're taking care of business.
Robert Morris, one of your looks here. You are also on Grand Canyon at home to Seattle. They open up at -2, which is where they stand now, but they are 2.5-point favorites at Pinnacle and Intertops. Why are you back in Grand Canyon here?
Yeah, this is simply a make or break game. If they want to stay in the conference race, they got to win this game at home. They got to start winning games at home. Luckily for them, they have Mikey Dixon. He's finally playing some good basketball. Struggled from the field his first 3 games, hasn't struggled the last 3. Go along with Carlos Johnson, Alessandro Lever. You got guys that are combined for 47 points. I think that on the road, this is a team not trustworthy. At home with a freshman point guard and a rowdy home crowd behind your back, I think that they're going to take care of business. Feed the ball to Lever inside. He's leading the WAC in score and field goal percentage. And when you're talking about turnovers, make sure that you're taking care of the ball. Seattle's going to take care of the ball. Turnovers will determine who wins this game. And it's very important that this game does not become a battle at the free throw line, because we've seen Grand Canyon be a little inconsistent. I think they're able to keep Terrell Brown out of the paint, and I think that they're able to win this game comfortably.
I like it. Weber State is your next spot. You've added Grand Canyon and Robert Morris. Weber State at home against Montana State. Weber State opening up at -2. It's up to 4 at Bet Online, 3.5 everywhere else. Why are you back in Weber State here?
Yeah, with Cody John from Mississauga, Ontario, this is a guy that's been stepping it up and taking it to another level. I think that you add him and Jarek Harding, and this is a tough combination in the Big Sky to get over on. I think that when you're looking at Montana State, this is a team that has struggled the last 5 games. They are very good in three-point defense, so that's going to be a contentious area for Weber State. But I do think that Weber, with the way that they're getting a lot of production from guys that you wouldn't expect, like Fuller off the bench. I think that Michael Kozak's definitely going to have to play a factor. But if you give me some more Tim Fuller and some Michael Kozak, I think that's enough production in the front court and rim protection to take care of business tonight against a reeling Montana State team. Lock down Harold Frey, you lock down Montana State.
Max, we have some questions coming in. How many additions do you have? Because we don't have a lot of time.
None that I'm going to make on the show. I'm going to answer questions and then give a play of the day.
Perfect. Let's do it. We have questions coming in. I will go back, but Tease has one right now. Any thoughts on Milwaukee? Line is really low against Youngstown State. Let's take a look at this line. Milwaukee, Youngstown State opening up at -4. It's down to 3 at Pinnacle. What do you think of Milwaukee tonight for Tease?
Yeah, I think that when you look at Milwaukee, definitely Sean Lucas and Darius Roy are a solid offensive combination, but I worry about who's going to win the point guard battle between Lucas and Darius Quisenberry. When you look at Jordan Bohannon also, that's a real boatload to take care of inside. And Youngstown, coming off a couple poor performances on the road, this could be a get-right spot for them. At this time, I don't have a play either way, but I would be looking at taking Youngstown on the first half and then reanalyzing the spot from there at halftime and maybe jumping on Milwaukee full game.
A question coming in from our guy Tyson McBride. Tyson wondering about this Radford UNC Asheville spot. Radford opening up at -3. It's down to 2.5 at 5 times 3 at most other books, 4 at Heritage. What do you think of him backing Radford here?
Yeah, see, I'm looking the other way on that game. I did let the best of the line go by me. So I'm not going to be making a play officially for the show on it. But when I look at Asheville, I think that they definitely have to be on point tonight and be able to be efficient from the field, because we know what Radford's going to want to do. They're going to want to slow it down. They're going to want to lock you down on the perimeter and really contest every shot that you take. I think that with Carlik Jones and Travis Field Jr. coming off a so-so performance and losing outright at home versus Winthrop, situationally it makes sense to jump on Radford. But by my numbers, I was going to be looking at Asheville on the side, and I'd be looking at the over also.
All right, it is time for the play of the day. Max, coming off an easy winner. Your team totals have been sharp. What is today's play of the day?
Yeah, so I'm going to go to another team total, Jim. What a surprise. What a surprise. I'm going to a game that we've already bet. We already have a bet on it, and I've already said why I like it. Arkansas State, team total over 66, -102. If they're going to win this game, they're going to win the race to 65, and that means they're going to get to 66 and 67 for us. Okay, that's how I'm looking at it. My numbers really like it. I could go into a lot more detail, but I'm not. And I have another play of the day that I'm going to add, Jim. I have 2 plays of the day. And this second one, I think, is pretty obvious. I'm wearing UCLA blue, got the football jersey on, and I'm taking UCLA full game under against Oregon State. After watching that abysmal, disgusting, wanted to literally puke on the screen and then eat that puke performance against Cal, I got to take the under one more time. So what number can you get me? Because I got 137, but I know it's not there anymore.
Yeah, these Heritage lines are stale lines, so it's still up at its opener. So I can get you, the best number I can get you is 136 at Pinnacle, under 136 and -112.
Yep, Jim, let's do it. Let's do 2 plays of the day. Arkansas team total over 66, -102, and let's get on that UCLA under 136. I think this game struggles to get to 130. Maybe it doesn't even get to 100. Who goddamn knows with this UCLA team? But we're going to find out, and our money's going to be on it.
I would like to jump on Santa Clara with you guys There's still a 3.5 at Intertops for my book. So I'm going to jump on the 2 plays of the day from Max. I'm also going to jump on the taint play of the day on Santa Clara. Santa Clara, and I'm going to bet that as soon as I can. I need to make sure that doesn't go to 4.5 of my book. So let me cut that. So I'm going to lock in 3 plays. Max's 2 plays of the day, and I'm going to be rolling with Taint, rolling with our friend Taint. We had a question from our Nasty Nate. Nasty Nate wanted to see old Freddie Fortune on the show to give us a little lechery, and we will do that. We've called our Freddie Fortune in from the office to give us a leche, but let's go over everybody's action very quickly. So I'm on Santa Clara -3.5. What did I get there at that -3.5 quickly? Santa Clara, I got -110 at Intertops. -110 at Intertops. Okay, let's make moves. Here is Guru Sports Bets making moves on Townsend first half and full game. Townsend first half and full game. Max's plays of the day: Arkansas State team total over 66 and UCLA under 136 and -112. And I will be going with that one as well. Copy that and get that right here. Those are my looks. Beautiful. All right. Then Max is on Robert Morris -2.5, Weber State -2.5, Grand Canyon -2, Liberty -5.5, Sacramento State under 134, Santa Clara -3, Austin P over 149.5, South Dakota -7 and over 146.5, Omaha -11, Michigan State -3, Murray State over 147, Arkansas State +2, Hampton +2, Lipscomb -1.5, FDU +7.5. Raven in the Deserts on IUPUI +7, Moorhead -2.5, Houston -9 with Teddy covers, Colorado -13 with Teddy covers, St. Mary's -9.5, also on Santa Clara -4, and the under 155, Florida International +4 and money line. Matt Randall's Taint play of the day, Santa Clara -3. He's also on Drexel money line +270 for the big score. Wisconsin Green Bay -2, Towson -4, and the BYU full game over. Full game over. Julian Cesario, our guy, is on Oregon State and the under. So Julian Cesario also on that under that Max just gave out. Robert Lenz liking the UTSA look that Babano gave out. He's also on that first half. Babano is on Oregon State +7.5, UTSA +9.5, Belmont, Murray State over 149, Minnesota +8, Hofstra -7, and Delaware Hofstra over 147. Teddy covers is on Colorado -13, Houston -9, Michigan -3. Alex Ramirez, Spidey, play of the day is Cleveland Cavaliers -1. And Anna Merrick, 2-unit parlays, Dos Anjos and Blades. That comes out to a -107. And the only NBA look I'm on right now is the under 229 in Mavericks Blazers. That is our show. Max, thank you so much for joining us. And we have nothing without these great cappers in the chat. Guru Sports Bets, Dirty Bird, Matt Randall, Dogbry, Socratar. Thoughts on Drexel +8? Well, we know that Matt Randall's on at Moneyline. Mark Unkefer, Canascat, Michael Jordan, Nilo, Richard Lee, Tease, Dirk Diggler, Dewey Finn, Chris Brady, Tim Montana, Stephen Lewis, all you guys, Raven in the Desert, Chris Brady. We know we have no show without you guys. A couple notes. Hit the link at the bottom of the screen. That would mean so much to me. Hit the link, www.sbrvideo.com/thebag. Also, join me in the Beat the Bag contest. This is how you enter. All you got to do is put the winning horse in each race. $250 to the winner, and you get to grace our Beat the Bag Hall of Fame. Here is the form right here. The program, really, not the full form. The program here from the Gulfstream website. Please jump on that. And Maxwell Smart, thank you so much for joining us. Follow Max. He's got a new Twitter handle. We are still hoping to get his old one back. But this is the new Twitter handle. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. At CBMS420. I'm going to grab it right now and put it in the chat at CBMS420. Max, I hate to take you away from your leches because they've been very, very good. Oh, Chris Brady said your play. It's the under 229 in that Blazers Mavericks game. And there's Max's Twitter. Max, thank you so much for joining and sharing your hard work. And we love your leches, but we're going to give Freddie a leche right now. Would you do the honor of introducing old Freddie Fortune?
Of course, and you know that I'd rather see you do the leches, but without further ado, the great Freddie Fortune makes his return to Betting with the Bag right now.
Eddie, the people demanded you.
What people?
Well, one person. A person demanded you.
And that's why you made me come here?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I want to go into
No,
this
come
game.
on, come on. Let's see that that nasty look of yours. Come on.
I look like a hobo.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, yeah. Welcome. Hey, we here. Why don't you take over? Give us a leche.
I don't like when
No. This is great. Sit
I
down.
can see your boxers.
I know that's fine. Sit down and why don't you give us a leche?
Can I smell your boxers?
Absolutely not. That's I will cut you. I will cut you.
What do you mean by cutting me?
I mean I will.
Are you gonna cut my segment or?
No. We already did that. Why don't you sit down, make yourself at home, and give us a leche on out of here?
Leche.
Come on, like you mean it.
Fuck you, man.
Like you mean it.
Leche and the bookmakers! Yeah, I missed your show. Can I come back?
No. One time offer here.